whatever, let's go for it. So right now it is currently December 31st, 2024. I honestly woke up and did not even realize that it was New Year's Eve until everyone was texting me saying Happy New Year's Eve. I think in 2025, I want to try and give BookTube a go. This year, I read the most books that I've read in a year in my entire life. I read 120 books, which is clinically insane for me personally. I genuinely don't know how I had so much time to read this year. I was so busy. So here are my stats for 2024. I'm gonna go through my Goodreads Wrapped for you guys. Wonder how many, if I can tell you how many books you gave 5 stars, because honestly, I don't think I gave that many this year. Okay, I'm gonna go to the bottom. We're getting there. I know when to stop because I reread The Deal January 1st every single year to celebrate Garrett Graham's birthday, which is on January 1st. So come tomorrow, happy birthday, Garrett Graham. Out of 120 books, I only gave 25 stars, which is so sad. Last year, I felt like I had the best reading year of my life. I think I hit 81 books last year, 82 books last year. I mean, everything I was reading was 5 stars, 5 stars. I guess I was getting a little picky this year, but I did want to go through my top 10 reads of 2024. I did read a lot of series. So 3 of my top 10 reads this year are Throne of Glass. Sorry, not sorry. Like they were genuinely life-changing. So okay, let's go through. Number 10, this came out in January. We're gonna do House of Flame and Shadow, also Sarah J. So this is the 3rd book in the Crescent City series. I know a lot of people feel weird about Crescent City, and I did too when I read the first book. I was like, this is very, very different from anything else that I've read by her, which at the time was just ACOTAR. But still, it was very modernized. After I read, House of Sky and Breath, spoiler, we did get a crossover with the ACOTAR characters. And so this was a very highly anticipated read for me in 2024. I wouldn't say this was her best in the series. I think Sky and Breath is still the best out of the 3 thus far. But this one was a very anticipated read for me, especially with the crossover with the ACOTAR characters. We got to see a lot of Nesta, a lot of Azriel. I will say that the only thing that bothered me about this book was that I felt like we needed a significant character death. That's horrible to say, but it just kind of felt like it was missing something, and I think that a death of a beloved character would have really solidified this book. And also the ending was very similar to ACOTAR Wings and Ruin. It kind of cheapened the ending for me, but overall still a really, really good read. You got to see a lot of different storylines come together, and Rune and Lydia are by far the best characters in this whole entire series, and I still to this day go back and reread scenes from them because I love them so much. So this is number 10. Number 9 is going to be Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. I know the series didn't come out this year, but I read it this year, so I'm gonna add it. So last year, I read all of the Infernal Devices series. Basically all of those characters, the Lightwoods, all of them, it's their ancestors. And I loved the Infernal Devices, experienced complete and utter trauma reading that book and that series. So obviously I had to move forward with reading the series about their children. As much as I love the Infernal Devices, the Last Hours series is completely 100% better. Obviously they're a little different, but we get to see Will and Tessa being parents in this series, and there's a broader range of characters that you kind of follow. Cassandra Clare has a gift, truly, of dragging out the slowest burn you can ever imagine, but making you feel like so much is happening at the same time when nothing is happening at all. The yearning and the anticipation and the anxiety that I was having trying to finish this book The relationship between James and Cordelia throughout this whole series, they were best friends as children. She's always been in love with him. Something happens to him that I'm not gonna say, but something has happened to him in which she feels that he doesn't feel the same way about her, but unfortunately he is completely and madly in love with her. So that's gonna be my number 9. Number 8 is Butcher and Blackbird. This is actually a special edition that I got for Christmas. It's so pretty. Actually, I'm gonna take a moment to brag. Look at these end pages, as well as beautiful Blackbird and then the Butcher. So pretty. I love it so much. This is actually a gift from one of my very good friends, Jordan, who's also in my book club. So, Butcher and Blackbird was so funny. Okay, I did listen to the audiobook. If you're an audiobook person, I would highly suggest listening to this book. This one actually, and the second one on audio. The narrators are phenomenal. Not only is this book about 2 serial killers who team up every year to kind of have a competition. They have a target in which they try and see who can capture and kill this target first, and obviously all of their targets are also serial killers and bad people. So there's a little bit of a moral justification for it if you kind of think about it and crunch the numbers and squint your eye a little bit. It's so fun, but the whole reason that they even have the competition in the first place is because Rowan has been obsessed with Salome since the moment he saw her, and he did not want to leave her presence without knowing that he will see her again. So thus began the competition. I would highly recommend Butcher and Blackbird. Leather and Lark was also really good. I didn't want to put it on my top 10 because I think Butcher and Blackbird was significantly better. If you haven't yet, I would definitely pick it up. Number 7 is going to be Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Justin, oh gosh, what was her name? Justin and Emma meet through a Reddit thread in which Justin believes that anyone that dates him, the next person that person dates, meets their soulmate, and Emma feels the same way. So as a joke, they're like, oh, well, maybe we should date each other so that the next person that we date will be our soulmate. And so she's a traveling nurse, so she can kind of pick wherever she wants to go. She ends up going to Minnesota, I believe. Gosh, I don't remember. I forget where these are set. I think it's Minnesota. So she ends up going to Minnesota, and she has a couple months where she gets to see Justin, and they go on a couple of dates. The thing about Justin, I have been a romance reader my whole life. Obviously, I have a lot of things that make me giggle and kick my feet. Nobody has made me giggle and kick my feet more than Justin. He is just so adorable. There is something about his character that just feels real. There's a lot, a lot of times when you're reading romance, it's like, oh, they're a book character. But I feel like Justin could be real. I think that unfortunately, everything that he did, all of his antics would unfortunately work on me. He's so quirky, he's funny, and he helps Emma go through and come out on the other side of a lot of family drama and trauma that has really messed her up. As far as dating and finding a home and finding a place to actually call home. Mwah. Number 6, my tried and true, the love of my life, Tessa Bailey in Fangirl Down. This is Tessa Bailey's best book that she has ever written. I am a avid Tessa Bailey fan. I have read basically everything that she has come out with, and Fangirl Down is by far her best book. I still consider myself a complete and utter fangirl. I related to Josephine so much. I've never seen a man so obsessed with a woman like I have seen, like how Wells was for Josephine. Josephine was just her complete and utter self, just a fangirl who loves golf and wanted to help him play the game, and he could not help but fall for her. It's genuinely one of the best books I've ever read, not even for this year, I have ever read. So I highly recommend Fangirl Down. Now, number 5, we're getting into the Throne of Glass territory. So my number 5 is going to be Queen of Shadows, which is the 4th/5th book, depending on where you count Assassin's Blade in the Throne of Glass series. So a little backstory of my journey with Throne of Glass. After I read ACOTAR in college, I tried to pick up Throne of Glass. I got to Queen of Shadows and just actually never read it, which is heinous. If I would have been able to finish this book, I probably could have finished this whole series before this year. The reason that I push Queen of Shadows as number 5 is because I think that this book is where the plot of the series genuinely begins to take off. It's where we see Aelin become more comfortable with her identity and more comfortable with who she is. She ties up some loose strings from her past and starts on a new adventure with her future and wanting to get her throne back. But I will say that Queen of Shadows was the turning point of the series, and that's why I had to put it on my list. I read Manacled, which is the Hermione fanfiction. This was actually the longest book I read this year with 1,500 pages. Okay. And it surely did feel like that. I have heard so many good things about Manacled. I like Harry Potter, but I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan in the whole wide world. But I felt like this was something that had to be read in my lifetime. So in October, I decided I was going to do it. And it took me the whole month of October, believe it or not. It took me the whole month. It was the longest book I've ever read, okay? If you are a Harry Potter fan, this book starts a couple years after the war at Hogwarts, or the Battle of Hogwarts, in which Voldemort actually won. So now we have the Order trying to fight against the Death Eaters and Voldemort and trying to win back that power. And we see Hermione, who is a healer. She doesn't fight, but she is a healer, a very skilled healer, who has the opinion that maybe dark magic is something that needs to be used in order to win this war, and no one agrees with her. She realizes that the Order is not going to be able to win the war against Voldemort unless something is done. So she ends up allying with Draco, who is a Death Eater. He is a double agent who is helping the Order. He specifically asks for Hermione to be his contact, and so throughout the whole book, they are meeting in secret. He's giving her information that could be used. He's actually healing him from the dark magic that's ensued and the torture that Voldemort puts in on him. They obviously fall in love. I'm really skimming over it because I don't want to give away too much, but it is the most beautifully written book I wouldn't say I've ever read, but it's pretty close. Okay, number 3 is also Throne of Glass, Kingdom of Ash, which is the last book in the Throne of Glass series. This book was the epic conclusion to the 7 books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think it's 7-book series. This book was, to say life-changing is a complete and utter understatement. There are so many instances in this book that made me sob my eyes out. This is what House of Flame and Shadow wish it could have been. This is TMI, but I sobbed so much that I ended up throwing up, which is in a good way. Positive connotation. It is a book, this series, for those who have never read it, it has to be done. This is a necessity for book readers. Number 2, so this one really surprised me, but it was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I have been on and off with Ali Hazelwood. I didn't love The Love Hypothesis. Honestly, The Love Hypothesis was genuinely the only book I didn't care about from her, but this was Ali's first dip into paranormal romance, and to say she went above and beyond, I cannot tell you how many times I have reread basically this whole book this year after I read it the first time because it is so amazing. Misery, the main character, is a vampire who has to marry the alpha of the werewolves in order to do a alliance between the two clans. she's never really been around the werewolves before, so she doesn't understand some of the things that are going on. They're being very secretive because they don't want to share all their secrets in front of her. Lo is very protective over her in a way that he's not protective of other people. Some could say maybe as protective as a mate would be. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I was very impressed by Allie's first little trial run into paranormal romance, and I can't wait to see what she does next. And I think that maybe she should continue doing some more paranormal romance, because this was beautiful. Last but not least, it's also another book from the Throne of Glass series. We're gonna do Empire of Storms. Now, I did do the tandem read with this book, and for those who don't know what that means, this book and Tower of Dawn, these two books are the same timeline but in different parts of the world. So this follows all of our main characters who we love so much, and then this one is following the story of a character who at this point in the story we're not loving so much, but I ended up actually loving this book a lot, and I wish I could have read them separately, but I was scared I wasn't going to be able to get through this. And now that I've read them both, I think that I could have. But the tandem read was still a fun time. The cliffhanger in this book was disgusting. How dare she make me feel that way? We also were introduced to a couple that I am completely obsessed with. If you know, Lorcan and Elide are my favorite couple in Throne of Glass, aside from Aelin and Rowan, of course. But we got to see their romance blossom, and the thing about Aelin is that she is, even though she's tough-willed and strong and an assassin and is not afraid to get her hands dirty, she's also beautiful and feminine and loves to wear dresses and get pretty and buy jewelry and eat chocolates and go shopping, but she's also someone who is going to get the job done. And I think that's what I really admire about her. And in this book, you really see her take on that leadership role of a queen. And I find myself rereading scenes very frequently. Very frequently. There you have it. That is my top 10 reads of 2024. I'm really excited to see what 2025 has for me. I also want to continue making content about books on YouTube. I have always wanted to be a YouTuber ever since I was in middle school, and I just didn't have a niche. But I think that I have found a niche in reading and giving recommendations in books in general. So I'm excited to see. I have a lot of ideas for the upcoming year. So I hope that you'll follow along. Happy 2025.